Folks, Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane are at the combine as we speak. Several defensive tackles, edge rushers were at the podium today. Workouts actually start tomorrow for several position groups. And I got to tell you, it's about damn time that we look at the very first mock draft of the season. I held off as long as I possibly could, but now that the combine is starting literally tomorrow, might as well just give you some knee-jerk reactions, folks. As many of you know, I had the luxury and the honor of being able to cover the Senior Bowl in person a couple of weeks back. So I have quite a bit of an understanding of some fits that I liked based off of my observations over in Mobile, Alabama. And I have done a lot of studying for the first, second, third round specifically. But what we're going to do today is we are going to go through a 5-round mock draft via the PFF mock draft simulator. And I'm going to walk you through my reasoning. Then afterwards, we are going to transition over to the live chat to see exactly what people have to say, where they would have went differently, the whole nine. If you are new here, my name is Dan Mitchell. I'm an NFL content creator. I am the largest Buffalo Bills creator on the internet across all platforms. And I would not have gotten there if it was not for all of you lovely people that tune in on a regular basis. If you're new here, again, I highly suggest that you turn on bell notifications because all of these streams you are currently watching are conducted live, and I want you to be a part of our live chat community. So when you subscribe, make sure you turn on that bell notification so you don't miss an episode. I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to pack a little lip pillow, right, as you can see, and let's go on ahead and lock in, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to tell you what, right before we dive into the nitty gritty of all of this, we do not have a 3rd round pick. I do not like that. Obviously, we have 2 second round picks, 56 overall, and 30 obviously being our 1st round. Some of us are like, oh, Dan, should we trade up in the 1st? I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of trade ups on this mock draft. That does not mean that I will not be doing it in future mock drafts, but just for the sake of the video, especially since I'm ripping the Band-Aid off, I am popping my 2025 NFL draft cherry, if you will. We're just going to lock on in this way. And obviously, I need to go ahead and make sure that perfect. And for a second, I thought that I was having that shit audio, but we already know what it is. Folks, let's start this draft. And as we are doing it, please smash that like button, hit that thumbs up sign. Let's get into it. Pick number 30. Where are we going? We're going to go this mode for slow. So the Titans, Ward, you have Travis Hunter to the Browns, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Tet McMillan, Luther Burden, Shedeur Sanders to the Jets, Jahdae Barron, who we had a video about earlier today, Ashton Jeanty, Will Campbell, Will Johnson, James Pierce, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, Jihad Campbell, Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks, Malachi Starks, Derek Harmon. My heart is breaking. Matthew Golden, Membu, Emeka Egbuka, Gray Zabel, who's a stud, Shamar Stewart, Darius Alexander. Damn, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So a lot of these players that we saw go, and I do want to point this out, there are several mock drafts that have players like Derek Harmon falling to us with the 30th overall pick. And there has been mock drafts that have had Jahdae Barron falling to us with the 30th overall pick. Don't necessarily say that any player outside of, I would say, pick 8 and beyond does not have a chance of falling for a variety of reasons. Number one, some of these teams that are looking for some potential fits on their team, they're going to address it via free agency, right? Like, best case scenario of what I can tell you, say, for example, that Tennessee wants to bring in Kirk Cousins or maybe make a trade for Stafford, for example, or maybe they want to sign Aaron Rodgers, whatever. All 3 of these teams could very well decide to hit free agency and get a QB and wait on a QB, right? And then that ultimately would end up shifting, and that would ultimately end up putting people down closer to the Buffalo Bills. But 30th overall pick, a lot of the guys that I was super excited about, obviously you had Derek Harmon, who was one of my personal favorites. You had Kenneth Grant, who goes 16th overall. I'm still holding on to hope that they fall, and maybe we would trade. But 30th overall, I'll tell you what, we have a couple of different players that I think are intriguing, right? Number 1 is Trey Amos out of Mississippi. All right. Right now, he is 6'1", 190 pounds. All right. His coverage grade, absolutely incredible at 85.6. Run defense, 81. and an opposing quarterback completion percentage at 51.6 is solid. Man coverage is solid. Zone coverage is good. He's an all-around fantastic corner. Is he a Jahdae Barron? No, he is not a Jahdae Barron. But let's also see what we have to take a look at. We also have Nick Scorton as well, who also just so happens to be an edge rusher that a lot of people were super high on. Several people that watch this stream have mentioned his name here and there, but surprisingly enough, I'm probably going to skip out on an edge rusher during this because I'm feeling a bit more intrigued by that. I'm going to check out some of the defensive linemen that are still available. You have Shamar Turner, who is interested. Alfred Collins out of Texas is also intriguing right here, 6'5", 320. But obviously, this guy could be set up in the second round, if at all possible. And you go on ahead and you check out a couple of other players who I really like, Deon Walker, but that is a conversation for a different time. So what I am going to do here is I'm going to check out the trade. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 36. They want to trade up. I wonder if I can get a third round pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to say 36 and give me. Do I want that in the third? I could want that in the third. Give me that. And then I'll also throw them one of my Giants picks right there, 178. Because you know what? We have a shit ton of picks right in this area. I'm going to see. Maybe they'll go for 205. Okay. I think I'm going to trade down, folks, because I'm looking at this overall situation. I like Trey Amos, but I'm also looking at a couple of players that I think we can get into the second round. Like Siobhan Revel is an absolute stud. I would potentially go for him. I like Azareye'h Thomas as well. This would ultimately end up giving us 3 second-round picks. I think I'm okay with this. 36 for 30. I want that 88th overall pick to get us in the third round. And you know what? I'm going to give them 178 for the New York Giants. Bang. Let's see if this works. Trading down. Boom. It is traded. And what did the Jacksonville Jaguars go with? They went with Josh Connolly. Okay, so they went with Josh Connolly, tackle. Then Nick Scorton went over to the Kansas City Chiefs. You had Jalen Walker, linebacker, over to the Eagles. You had an edge rusher, a Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina, and then Trey Amos, who ended up falling in the second round, right? So I'm not going to sit here and waste a first-round pick on a player that does not have a first-round grade. So now it's getting intriguing, right? What do I find to be good for this team? We have 3 second-round picks right now, folks. 3, which is absolutely massive. So I'm going to look over. We have Xavier Watts, which is super interesting, right? Super intriguing. Safety right over there. His coverage grade sitting at 89.5 for this. I really like Xavier Watts. That is a need that we have. We had Tyleik Williams as well. Okay, he is 6'3", 327 pounds, interior defensive lineman. I think I'm going to wait, and I think you guys are actually going to like where I'm going with defensive tackle. However, looking at some of the other availabilities, I mean, Sanders could be intriguing as well. 6'4", 290. He's probably more of a 3-tech. I'm probably going to be good there. With the 36 overall pick, I am going to go with Xavier Watts. Notre Dame safety, free safety. Damar Hamlin improves our safety room almost significantly. I know some people are like, Dan, a safety, seriously? But I told you, with each and every single mock draft that I ever do, folks, I promise you that I will never walk into a round saying that I need to walk away with a specific position, because that is how these teams ultimately end up getting screwed. All right? I was picking the best player available based off of our positional need. Safety is indeed one of them. All right? And we got a hell of a damn player when it came into Xavier Watts. So I'm not sure about you, but I'm excited about this pick. Let's take a look. All right. Next up, corner is obviously a need. A CB2 is intriguing. I love Azareye'h Thomas. I ended up seeing this guy right at the Senior Bowl, had one of the best performances out of anybody over there. Opposing quarterback, completion percentage of 51.5, excels in zone, excels in man coverage. All right. He's not a big interception guy, but he's more of like a Sauce Gardner guy where his separation is out. And remember, we're looking for a CB2 here. Some of us are like, oh man, what about defensive linemen? Don't worry. I have an absolute plan for this, folks. Fear not, because I have a plan here. It could be Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle right up in the middle. It could also be Joshua Farmer, who could be intriguing. 6'3", 318, probably more of a 3-tech there. But when I look at all of this, and let me just double check and make sure nothing else is really standing out to me, I am going to go with Azareye'h Thomas, corner out of Florida State, opposite of Christian Benford for the second pick in the second round, the second overall pick for the Buffalo Bills. And look at that. Third second round pick already. Let's take a look, folks. Have a corner, have Xavier Watts, have Azareye'h Thomas, starting free safety for this squad, excels in coverage, and then Azareye'h Thomas, who I think is an incredible CB2. Somebody who can hopefully learn, actually can play zone defense, unlike Kaiir Elam. I'm feeling pretty good about this. So now what we need to do is take a look at what else we could potentially be gunning for, right? Need interior defensive line, maybe an edge rusher, right? Wide receiver is also getting very intriguing for this overall team. But let's check out Omar Lott. True pass rush grade 88.3. Pass rush is at 81.6. Run defense at 68.1. Pass rush win rates at 18.9%. Run stop rates at 6. 6'3", 315 pounds, senior. He's almost 23 years old. He has some age to him. So he is somebody I could potentially be looking at. You have Josiah Stewart, who, by the way, folks, was interviewed by the Buffalo Bills already. Something to look here. 6'1", 245 pounds. He had 9 sacks, 8 hits, and 20 hurries. Pretty solid. A 93.7 true pass rush rate. He was interviewed by the Buffalo Bills today, so something to consider. I like Stewart at this pick as well, but let's not be greedy. Let's take a look at what else we potentially have here. Scrolling on down, I'm not seeing a wide receiver. I do see a wide receiver I really, really want, but that is for later in the draft. So with that being said, folks, I'll tell you where I'm going to go with this. I'll tell you exactly where I'm going to go with this. I am between, so with Norman Lott and we have Josiah Stewart. I am between these two. I am struggling a little bit to go afterwards. I'm hoping that we can find an edge rusher in free agency, or maybe just adding to the interior will open up Gregory Rousseau. We'll open up AJ Epinesa. I think interior is what we're really looking for right now, folks. So with the next pick, I'm going to be selecting Omar Norman Lott, 6'3", 315, 88.3 true pass set rate. Some people are probably going to be pissed that I didn't go for Josiah Stewart, but you know what? He was just an edge rusher that had the luxury of playing right next to Kenneth Grant and then also the interior over in Michigan. So I like my pick over here at Omar Norman Lott. Ladies and gents, scroll on up, have Xavier Watts, Azareye'h Thomas, have Omar Norman Lott, as many of you were saying, pounding the damn table. Dan, we need defense exclusively. All right. Well, I think that we ultimately ended up addressing this with our 3 second-round picks after trading down. Are we team trade down? I feel like we are. I feel like we are team trade down right now, folks. All right. Now, oh, man, this is where things get intriguing, because I got to tell you where I'm sitting. We have Xavier Watts. We have Azareye'h Thomas. We have Omar Norman Lott as interior defensive tackle, who could be a Daquan Jones replacement. Now, where we're sitting at, have a couple of players that I think are intriguing. This guy has fallen tremendously. I have seen him mocked in the first round, but obviously we already ended up taking care of our safety needs with Xavier Watts. We have Trey Harris, who surprisingly enough has been a player that quite a bit of people are hoping that the Buffalo Bills can target. 6'3", 210 pounds, 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 10 in 2022. His receiving grades at 89.4, yards per route run, contested catch 61.5, grade versus man coverage. He's a man beater, which is absolutely insane. So he's up there. Did somebody take my boy? Someone took my boy at Jalen Royals, who I really wanted, bro. You have no idea how bad I wanted Jalen Royals on this team, but that's what we get for sleeping. Moving on down, I'm going to double check and make sure that there's nothing else that is really standing out to me. I like Tez Johnson quite a bit. The problem with Tez is that this dude, he is a slot guy. He's insane. He was almost unguardable during the Senior Bowl. But we could go wide receiver. We could also bolster up the defensive line as well. Grab Deion Walker, who is 6'6", 345 pounds. But I think Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee was a better pick on our end. So with that being said, I'm taking a look at what else we potentially need. Wide receiver, we have defensive line, we have linebacker, which is also standing out. Let me double check and see if there's anybody that stands out to me. Barrett Carter, I did see Jack Kaiser at the, saw Kobe King. All right. So with this being said, welcome Trey Harris from Ole Miss to the Buffalo Bills for yet some more wide receiver help. Let's go on ahead and hope that we end up getting Hollywood Brown in free agency to get that speed. But as far as a man beater, as far as route running, Trey Harris would be interesting for this team. Moving on, folks, we have 4 more picks, and then I'm going to be talking to the people real fast. Smash that like button if you didn't get an opportunity of doing so far. All right, so here's the deal. You have Xavier Watts, you have Azareye'h Thomas, corner, you have Omar Norman Lott, and then you have Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Mississippi. So we have done wonders right now when it comes in to our overall draft class and addressing the defense. And I've been telling you about this guy. He's fallen significantly. I know we drafted an interior defensive lineman already, folks, but how important has it been for the past couple of years that we needed some true pass rush? We need a one tech, right? What could we do here? A pass rush grade at 75.4, run defense is 67.7. He's not better than Omar, right? His metrics necessarily aren't there. 4 sacks in 2024, 8 in 2023. But you know what? Like, we need defensive line so damn bad. I'm down to double dip right here in the 4th round. I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you. I'm seeing a couple of other guys. We have Peebles, but like he's more of a 3 tech that would be redundant at that point, especially since we already have Ed Oliver. We already have Dwayne Carter. So I'm not really seeing anything that looks like it's standing out to me at this point. You have Rivers, you have Paguas, you have Knoll. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. With this, I am double dipping at the position. I am grabbing Deion Walker as well. 2 potential one techs for this team. Roll the dice. See who makes it happen. Who is the big body that's going to be taking all of these overall double teams? 3 more picks. Let's add some depth. Maybe add a little bit more rate to the offensive line for some depth purposes, perhaps. Let's see what we have here, right? So we have the Bills, a loaded halfback class. We have linebacker as well. Coverage grade is absolutely terrible. Okay, run defense at 81.9, pass rush grade at 70.1. Barrett Carter, we know that quite a bit of these guys, quite a bit of these dudes that start in a McDermott defense at the linebacker position, we like for them to be semi-decent when it comes into coverage. So Barrett Carter kind of is not my favorite. But let's see what else we have. We have Jaden Blue. He's 6 foot, 200. He had 8 touchdowns last year, 728 yards. Solid zone, solid in gap. Elusive ratings at 113. Yards after contact, 3.83. So we're talking about a damn bowling ball, dude. 6 foot, 200. I tell you what. Do I add another running back right to this class? In case Ty Johnson comes through, perhaps. I mean, this class is so deep, it's very difficult for me to say no at this point. So you know what I'm going to do, folks? Ooh, damn. I love that guy, but I'm going to wait. I love Billy Bowman Jr. too. He's a solid free safety as well. 5'10", 200. But what's the point of doing that Let's go on ahead and let's bring in some competition at the running back position. Give me Jaden Blue out of Texas. 200 pounds, bowling ball, 3.5 yards after contact. Why not? Maybe he's a replacement for Ty Johnson. We are trying to get younger. We're trying to get cheaper. The whole nine. Moving forward, I am going to see. Wow, this is taking forever. Let's go ahead and move this a little fast. Come on now. There you go. Ja Joyner, Trevor Etienne is off the board. All right, 171. It's funny how Jackson Dart has fallen all the way to the 5th round. I promise you that this dude is going to be drafted in the 1st. Somebody is going to absolutely just go nuts. All right, so we have Cody Lindenberg. He's a bit better in coverage, 6'3", 240. I can imagine he's probably slow. Solid run defense, pass rush grade, solid coverage, solid in tackling, advanced stats. We already have him here. He's in the box quite a bit. Corner, out of the slot. He's all over the place. He's super versatile. He's better than Balen Spector. I can promise you that already. I'm going Cody Lindenberg, linebacker depth. And the last pick of our mock draft, folks, in the 5th round, 175th. Let's go ahead and check out our picks real fast. We have Xavier Watts. We have Azareye'h Thomas. We have Omar Norman Lott, Trey Harris, Deone Walker as well, double dipped at the defensive line position, Jaden Blue, halfback, and Cody Lindenberg at the linebacker position. And last but not least, 5th round selection, wide receiver DL, linebacker CB. I feel like we have everything we need right now, to be honest with you. I'm looking around real fast. I'm trying to see if anybody sounds interesting. Solid coverage grade from O'Donnell Fortune, but let me double check. He's 6'1", 125. I'll tell you what, I like O'Donnell Fortune. Let's go on ahead and draft another perimeter corner, a potential perimeter corner in case Azareye'h Thomas does not work out. We've seen that before. All right, let's check out the mock drafts. This is what happened, folks. This is what happened. So we had the Buffalo Bills traded down with the Jacksonville Jaguars, no 1st round pick, because let's be honest with ourselves, nobody was worth to be taken in the 1st round. And we received an additional 2nd round pick, making us have 3 picks in the 2nd round, and we got a 3rd in which that we did not have going into the draft by itself. With that pick we acquired from the Jaguars, we ultimately ended up getting Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame, stellar in coverage, one of the best safety prospects in this draft, of course, next to Malachi Starks. 2nd round, we ended up getting Azareye'h Thomas, corner, CB2, solid in coverage, solid in zones, solid in man coverage by itself. Solid pick, if you were to ask me. Then Omar Norman Lott, Tennessee defensive lineman, one tech that could be placed right next to Ed Oliver. Had to get with this guy, has solid pressure, decent in run defense, is going to be drawing double teams. He has size. Wide receiver, we add Trey Harris to the squad. He's decent, like he's 4'5", 40, but his man coverage beating ability is through the roof, right? And that's something we need, is someone that can get open. Hopefully we get Hollywood Brown in free agency. We double dipped on the defensive line interior. We got another true one tech, Deone Walker. He's massive. He's 6'5", 340 pounds. His stats are not nearly as impressive as Omar's. However, I want to double dip. I'm not trying to bullshit anymore. We have to address this defensive line. We got 2 of these dudes right here. We have Jaden Blue, halfback out of Texas. He's a bowling ball. He's strong, 6'1", 200 pounds. Crazy yards after contact. I'm okay with throwing him in the ring. We have Cody Lindenberg, semi-decent in pass coverage. He's all over the field. He's super versatile. And then last but not least, we have O'Donnell Fortune, who can play on the outside and out of the slot, and also is, I'd say, relatively solid when it comes into coverage, right? Like, we have drafted a lockdown corner in the 5th before. So between Azareye'h Thomas and O'Donnell Fortune, hopefully we end up getting that done. So several of us are probably like, Dan, what about an edge? I'll tell you what. By the time that I got to our pick in each and every single round, I didn't see an edge that I thought that would be life-changing. I'm not going to assign a position based off of a round. I'm not going to say, I need an edge rusher this second round, or it's going to be a failure, because that's not an appropriate way of looking at things if you were to ask me. Love what this looks like if you were to ask, right? And hell, we all know that Myles Garrett's coming here anyway, so we have that rusher. Relax. I'm just kidding. Anyway, this is what I have to say on the draft. Sound off in the comments. And also, have to give a giant shout out to William Mattar, the #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. If you were ever in a car accident, folks, I pray to God that you were not, but it's very important that you have the correct representation if that unfortunate scenario does occur. Phone number is on the screen. #1 attorney when it comes into personal injury in the state of New York. Shout out to William Mattar for sponsoring this video. Now, folks, for all of you that are watching, right, the replay of this episode, this is the time where I typically turn to the live chat, see what everybody is feeling. We allow them to take control of the conversation. So I highly recommend that you smash that bell notification once you subscribe, because I want you to be a part of my live chat community. Very, very important. Let's take it up. We had Jay coming in saying, take Jackson Dart for a backup. Surprisingly enough, I think that we will avoid taking a quarterback. If we do, it might be in the much later rounds, 6th, 7th round as a backup. We still have Mitch Trubisky under contract. And yes, he would be a liability, but I got to tell you about a backup quarterback, folks. 90% of the NFL teams would be royally fucked if their starting quarterback went down and their backup had to take over. Having a quality backup quarterback that could for sure win you like 5 out of the 8 games your guys missed is very rare. Bryant from Kentucky, someone with a super chat, please. Bryant from Kentucky, 6'1", 225 TD, would body that dude. Look at that. Dan, could you look at O-line prospect Jonah Monaheim? He's listed as a center, but can play nearly every position on the offensive line and could be great depth in the 5th and or the 6th round. I 110% will, man. 110% will. I appreciate you throwing that out there for me. Douglas is coming in saying, that's the draft. If that is the draft, I would be happy. I mean, listen, you know what? Not bad for my first mock draft, right? Like, I've done it a couple of years in a row, and normally my first mock draft is absolutely piss poor. So I am actually very excited about this mock draft myself. That is a great draft, alternate alphabet. I mean, look, you know what? I wish we would have walked away with an edge rusher as well, but I just didn't see any edge rushers that I thought that we should have made the move for. I suppose we could have went with Landon Jackson in the 2nd in place of Azareye'h Thomas. I suppose that we could have went with Josiah Stewart out of Michigan. But the thing is that I like Josiah Stewart, but how much of his success was due to playing with 2 of the best defensive tackles in all of college football? Both of his defensive line mates are projected first-round picks, top 15 picks, both of them. So how good was Josiah Stewart actually? I think that's my question. Hence why I took Omar Norman Lott as the defensive line opposed to Stewart when we had the opportunity of taking him. So that's kind of where I am at. I really hope they pick best player available instead of reaching for a need. Yes, most definitely. That is a dangerous mentality to have, is to convince yourself, right, that I need to walk away from the 5th round, or I need to draft a defensive tackle in the 1st round, no questions asked. Can't have that mentality. Cannot have that mentality, or otherwise that's how you get a Kyle Elam. Trey Harris and Jahdae Barron and Xavier Watts is incredible. So we didn't get Barron. He ended up going 8th overall, which is absolutely insane. But I do like Azareye'h Thomas. I do like Xavier Watts. And I did like Trey Harris in the 3rd round as well. Solid man beater. He's not really like a speedster, but hopefully we can address that somewhat during free agency, or maybe Josh and Curtis Samuel can actually establish some sort of figure it out. Douglas is saying, I love the double dip. I mean, listen, dude, I was getting impatient with finding some interior defensive line. I absolutely love this. I'm not going to lie to you. Maybe QB DJ as a developmental player late. I promise you, if you ask any Florida State fans, and I am deep in Florida State country right now, I promise you that they would advise heavily against that. I would have taken Brashad Smith over Jaden Blue because Smith has a better upside. Yeah, man. Hey, listen, we need Ted Washington in the middle. How's that for a name drop? Ted Washington, man. I'm going to have to go ahead and take a look at that guy. Man, for sure. But folks, that is the mock draft for today. I sincerely thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. I'm probably going to do a lot more of these, maybe with some trade ups, maybe with a different offensive scheme. But I think this is a pretty solid mock draft. I'm not going to lie to you. Sound off. Right in the comments section. And obviously, I am talking to the people that are watching the replay. Let me know your thoughts here. Subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications. Hit that thumbs up sign. Easiest way to show love over here. And I will see you in about an hour on the AFC East Roundtable. Deuces.